Hi everyone. In this lesson, we're going to be talking about physical and chemical changes. In the last lesson, we talked about the definition of chemistry and the different things that we're going to be learning in this class. Now let's add more into that knowledge that we have. So there are different ways you can change matter. Again, matter is anything that takes up space and has mass, right? So we can either do a physical change or a chemical change. Let's take a look at physical change first. A physical change is a change in the matter where in matter that does not create a new substance. Physical changes are usually reversible. Okay, reversible meaning you can go back, you can reverse the change that you've made. For example, if you freeze water, it changes form, right, from a liquid to a solid, phase from liquid to a solid, but it's still water. Okay. And another more examples of physical changes can be making sandcastle. Technically, the sandcastle is still made up of sand. Slicing bread. When you slice bread, then you're changing the size. Whereas when you're making a sandcastle, you're changing the shape, right? Another less obvious examples are when you're doing a phase change, a state change. So for this one, when you are boiling or when a steam leaves the kettle, that is still technically the water, the same water that was in the kettle before it was boiling. Okay. So let's think of a real example in here. We have in here some s'mores, right? So we have s'mores right here. And when we are squishing our s'mores, right? When we squish the s'mores, we are technically doing a physical change. The marshmallow changes shape, however, it still remains the same substance. Okay, hopefully that is clear enough on how to determine if something is a physical change. Now, let's talk about chemical change, the other type of change. A chemical change is a change in a substance which it creates something new. So new substances are formed. Chemical changes are very difficult to reverse. Usually there's some special circumstances where you can reverse it. For example, electricity, okay, can be used to split water into two separate gases. Okay, we have in here the hydrogen and oxygen. However, in this case, hydrogen and oxygen are two new substances, but it is very difficult for you to put back hydrogen and oxygen to become water again. Okay, it's not as easy. You don't just run electricity again and it will happen. No, it's not a reversible reaction. More real life example in here, we have in here a toasting of marshmallow. So if you can imagine toasting marshmallow, the sugar is caramelized and changes into a black color. And a new substance called carbon is formed. Okay. Here are other examples of a chemical change. We have any change where it produces heat that wasn't there before, light and sound. Usually that's a chemical reaction. Odor, if it smells like it didn't smell like that before the change, that is a chemical change. A production of gas, if you see any bubbles, that's a production of gas. However, just be careful because bubbles is also indication of evaporation, which is not necessarily it's not necessarily a chemical change, so just watch out for that. However, for the most part, usually if there's no bubbles there before and bubbles now, that's actually a chemical reaction. Forming a precipitate. Precipitate is a solid in that was made. It wasn't there before, now it's made. That's called that's also a chemical change. Now, we're going to be looking at all of these examples in class. Dissolving sugar, rotting up onto are those chemical and physical changes. For right now, here are that is our lesson for physical and chemical changes. In class, we're going to be doing the mass and change lab, and then you're going to tell me of the changes that we're making, are those physical or chemical changes.